Hello,
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So my name is Abdullah Isal. I'm from Host. I want to talk about the book, The Wandering Falcon. So the book is written mostly about culture and it's an exciting read. So the book is about a boy named Turbaz. So he's born in a tribe where a girl and a boy meet each other and they fall in love with each other. Then they make away with each other. So finally, they want a place to stay in. Then police gives them the place to stay. But then finally, after some time, they have a child. The child name is Ahmad. So then the journey progresses. Then one day, the tribe of that family got informed about the boy. So then they try to kill the father and the mother of the boy. So finally they do it. So here it is an amazing story that tells us about the cultures of Pashtuns, that while a lady love and a lover fall in love, they don't want them to get together. That is such a wrong opinions of our people. So this tells us that we should and must make this environmental issues right, like this kind of issues. And also the book is really exciting. It also points out some other aspects like the cultural aspects of Waziristan and Masouds, that they are so kind of hazardous people, is that they kidnap and steal from others in order to have their own sustenance. And this is another point that I loved about that book. So what it tells us that we should focus on ourselves, our community, and not steal from others and provide from others. And the other hand, the book is also pointing to another point. The point is that if we want to have a prosperous community, we need to give children knowledge and send them to schools. But in the case of Turbaz, they don't do that. And just there, Turbaz is spending time with the tribes. So there he becomes kind of person that is not knowledgeable and just wandering. So because of that wandering and that journeys, the book is named Turbaz. And generally for me, the book was really exciting, and I had learned a lot of things from it. So yeah, it was great to read, and I loved it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. It was really, really, really good to hear you. Do we have anyone else who'd like to share his thoughts?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Razin. I'm from Host, and I have some information about the book, which name is named by Wandering Falcon. The Wandering Falcon is the unforgettable story. A boy known as Turbaz, the Black Falcon, and who wanders between tribes in the remote tribal areas where Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan meet, defying his fate and surviving against all odds. The world he inhabits is changing as it confronts modernity. And Jamil Ahmad Iwar's winning debut, this highly traditional honor-bound culture is revealed from the inside for the first time with vivid color and imagination. A sort of storytelling that synchronizes a region, a people, and a way of life threatened by the creation of administrative borders and colonial powers. Ahmad's style is bare, Spartan. His narrative is moving, sometimes haunting, often funny, and never judgmental. And I have some information about the guide. For more than a quarter of a century, the thought of undertaking this journey had dominated my life in one way or another. For the first few years, my father and I had dreamed about it together. I think there is one proverb, They have written, if the ears of my corn be empty, let them stand as high as those of my world.
Wow, amazing. That's great. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thanks from you.
Awesome. Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to come up?
By the name of Allah, Ahmad Samoon Sharifi from Khost.
Nice to meet you, Ahmad.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. And I want to talk about the book, but not only about the book, about how that is written by. The book is a good book, but by my opinion, it's not connected part to part. There are several stories. In one story, there are sub-stories. For example, when you come to Turbas Khan, there are something else. You can see Baluts, you can see a lot of other things too, like Wazirs, like Haruts, and I think not these all are connected with each other.
It's a collection
I
of
think-
stories. Yeah.
Yes, connection is not as good as I thought, as or should be. Okay.
That's because
And,
it's a collection. It's a collection of many stories.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. It's like a part of this story. There are a lot of partitions and that, and also I should mention about something about the Mullah Berari. They showed it up and they described it a lot like he was something else. There was a proxy war between England and German and Waziristan. But I think not only a proxy war, there was something else too, like the Indians, like the Englands did things wrong to the people of Waziristan and other issues as well. And the second one, they told in that book, the Waziristan people can't, people don't even fight for their religion, but for money. That was something very non-interesting to me.
Non what?
Yeah, it was non-good for me, or it was bad for me. It was something not interesting for me.
Okay. Why? May I ask you why it was not interesting or not good?
Okay, because I think they fought for their religion too. They didn't know and don't know now too, but about a lot about their religion. But there was always fightings for religion, and now it is the proxy war that has been running between the a lot of world powers. World powers. It's an Waziristan. It says in Waziristan, but they have the perspectives of religion.
Okay. So do you mean that they don't fight for religion in a good way or a bad way? Like how do you mean that?
Could you repeat that?
So you said that you think that they also fight for their religion, yes?
Yes, I think fundamentalism is a lot in that line.
It is a lot in that land, but I think so. If I may add to how we can understand this story or this point, a lot of the times what happens is that when people in different parts of the world and in any conflict with any religion or with any culture, when there is conflict, the terms of the conflict, it's not they can be covered as religion. So on the top of it, people can say this is for religion or that this is jihad, but the situation on the inside can be more complex. It can be more complicated than that. So
Yeah.
it's not just religion. It doesn't mean that it's not religion, but it means that it's not just religion, and there are other things as well, and that there are other things that get cloaked or clothed garb or the disguise of religion. That's what it means. Even fundamentalism, a lot of the times, what it's fueled by is not really religion. It will appear as religion, but the issues on the ground can be different. They can be, as you said, it could be a proxy war, or it could be issues of employment, food security, financial issues, or whatever. So that's I think, in my opinion, that's how it is.
Yes, I agree with you. Lack of food security, knowledge, and etc. is the raw materials of the war. But I think the religion has the main point on that.
Yeah, I know. Would you want to talk more about that, religion and violence?
No, not.
All right. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for sharing. This was really interesting.
Thank you.
Are there more students who would like to come up?
Yes, sir. So we're gonna hear it from you, and we'll come back again.
Okay. Okay, Fidala, thank you very much. I have some questions. Okay, so I have some questions for the students.
Yeah.
All right. The first thing would be, so Torbaz goes around traveling. He travels to the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. So my question to all the students here is, how do you see national borders? Are they fixed? Are they fluid? How should they be? Do you know any stories from the borders which made you happy or maybe upset you? Were you able to understand my question?
Yeah, we understood your question. Yeah.
Okay. I'm explaining it to them. These guys are really smart. Yeah, right.
Hi again, and I got your question. In the book, there is something about the nomad people. We called it Kuchis, and also about the borders. By my opinion, the national border should be, but not as much as tight as uh, they are now, and maybe more difficult in the future. I think if Europe can have a lot of facilities in their national borders, we can have to.
And by facilities, you mean, what do you mean by facilities like Europe?
By my opinion, we can have a lot of facilities like crossing easily and not wanting the visa or that kind of things.
All right, Emma, thank you. That's interesting.
Yeah, we will have another one too to give you the answer. He also wants to share his opinion.
Riaz, is his name Riaz?
Assalamu alaikum. This is Mumtaz Zirak from Khost. I hope that you are doing. I got your question, and that's a very important question. As you know better that in this side and that side of between Pakistan and Afghanistan, there is a big tribe called Pashtun. So they have the same interests, they have the same things in common, they have the same cultures, they have the same religion, and they cannot be separated. How can they be separated? There should not be like tight laws for them to not to cross the border, and there are some new things that are built by the Pakistan army that they are trying to separate the both tribe, Pashtun tribe. So I think there shouldn't be like tight lies. As you know about European countries, there are two countries that from both sides, they are playing volleyball. And there is a line in there playing volleyball. So there should be even they are the different they have the different religions, the different tribes, but here in this point we are just one tribe, one I think before we were one nation, so we can still be one nation.
All right, thank you so much, Mumtaz, for sharing that. That point about volleyball is really exciting and interesting. So thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, Hamza.
All right, Fidala, we have a few more questions and we'd like to continue the discussion if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. So my second question is one of the purposes of writing this book for Jameel Ahmed was to tell more stories about areas that are normally shown in the media as dangerous or as areas that people should not go to or as areas which only have problems, right, or issues. So and we also living in Karachi also understand this, because the way Karachi is shown in the media all over the world, and when we live here, there's a world of a difference. It's completely different universes, what's the perception and the reality. So we would like to ask the students to discuss this point. How are there places in the media that they saw previously, and then they actually went to those places, and what was the difference, and how do they feel about how media shows certain places? What kinds of responsibilities should the media have when it shows certain areas? Thank you.
Yeah, so we got your question and it will be shared with the students.
Thank you.
Okay, again, Mumtaz Irak.
Hello, Mumtaz. Yes, we're ready to hear you.
And I got another very good question that needed to be answered. That's a very clear thing, but before coming to the answer, we have in every government, we have three powers. For example, the government, the executive branch, the parliament branch. Nowadays, the fourth branch is media, and they are really playing a big role in the countries, in the society. So this is very common in Afghanistan and Pakistan, that they are spreading bad publicity about our countries, about our culture, in our religion. One main problem is that like we have some big media, like that they are broadcasting from America to Afghanistan, like in Pakistan we watch, in Afghanistan we watch now BBC, Europe, pre-Europe. So they are spreading very bad things about our religion. For example, nowadays in Afghanistan the situation is bad. I know that it's bad, but it's not like in the worst position. They are making people's mind to leave the country, escape from the country, because this is not a good place for you to live. So I think we should have a good role in one country. For example, if they are playing a good role in our country, our country will be good. But they are against us. I think that's my opinion.
Okay, Mumtaz, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to answer the question, and then we can continue the discussion?
Hamza, I think I'll share something about the same question.
Yes, yes, please.
So it's not about media, it's about the people who are behind the media, who are running the media. The problem is people. But as Mumtaz mentioned, that nowadays the role of the media is very important in running political issues, running financial issues, running social, cultural, religious issues. All these things are very, very key to medias, and in its media that now we are facing each other and talk to each other. But it has to be noticed that media has lots of problems, like it gives black sheep to someone they want, and also they give a total clean and innocent shape and face to someone they want. But I think it's not an easy issue to solve easily, because medias are made for governmental interests, for people official interests. So it's people who run such things on medias. But it's like a disease, like a virus. So we have to avoid this virus, and we have to, at least if we cannot avoid the virus totally, at least we have to wear a safeguard not to be victims of such things, but publicity. We have to play the opposite role of media, and we can run the same thing, the same situation oppositely. For example, if media is spreading, if media is for everyone has access to media. So if someone is spreading negative things about you, you have to do something positive. You have to prove that what is shared, what is spread is not good and not meeting with the reality. So we can do that, do this, and it's not about just mentioning problems. It's all about mentioning and giving solutions. We have lots of problems and lots of things, lots of issues going on, but all that really matter is to find the solution and give the solution, and at least have a world where everyone can live a beautiful and wonderful life.
Faisalabad, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that really helps us take our conversation forward. It gives me a new question to ask you with regards to the same subject. And that is, I think part of the problem is also that we have maybe we've forgotten how to tell stories, because nowadays usually in families or at family events or in the media, all we see is criticism and negative perceptions of things. So my question to the students is, are there any stories that you would like to see on the media? Because we used to have a lot of stories, right? Even Afghanistan has its own culture of folk tales, folk traditions, and are they in the media? Are people making movies or TV shows out of them? How is it going? Can you please ask the students that?
Yeah.
Hello, Ahmad.
Okay. By my opinion, there's the tolerance and the religious pluralism and that kind of things should be on media to aware the people of that, and also to have a conversations with that with those people who want to know about these things. And also, by my opinion, media can do a lot of things, like by propaganda, they can make two nations united or separate them.
That's completely right. Could you repeat what you said? Who should be on the media? Religious people and who?
Religious pluralism.
Religious pluralism. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it should be on media. People know a lot about that, and also the cultural collaborations that should be on media.
Why do you think it's important to have religious pluralism on the media in Afghanistan? What kinds of issues would that help with? Do you have any stories about that?
Any story?
Religious pluralism part.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we can, we have a lot of things about that, a lot of issues, a lot of stories, especially before the war. Before the war, we had a lot of stories, the tolerance they had between themselves, and also the tolerance and cultural collaborations, and also the religious pluralism between the Hindus and Muslims in Khost. And but after the war, all of them has been gone to India, and there is no one. So I think the tolerance and the religious pluralism is very important to be in media, that people should know that not only one religion could be in one area.
Okay, so that's really interesting. There were Hindus and Muslims living in Khost.
Yeah.
And you're saying that all of them have now gone to India, 100%.
From Khost, a lot of them has been gone.
Okay, are there any temples or religious places of Hindus and Khost still?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but would you have any information about them? Would you like to talk about what their current condition is?
Can you repeat that?
The religious places of Hindus in Khost, have you ever seen them? Do you know about their condition after the Hindus left?
Yeah, yeah. I saw them, and also they have a lot of Gurdwara or what's it again? Gurdwara are worship place, and some of their homes, houses.
What's their condition? Is it are they in good condition or are they falling apart?
Now, for now, they aren't here.
No, of the buildings, of the places,
Of the temples.
the condition of the Gurdwara that you saw.
Okay. Sorry about that. I thought you talked about the people. Not in good conditions, but we have some of them, right. Some of them, not all. Maybe 10% of them.
Okay, it's the same in Karachi. Karachi also has some Gurdwaras which are in very, very bad condition actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So would anyone else like to talk about stories they would like to see on the media, but that they don't usually see?
Thank you.
Hamza, it's me again. I would like to stay on the point of pluralism, and later on I will come to the stories, the real question. So religious pluralism is must in today's world, because throughout history, religion is the most damaging thing for a human being. In the past, in the middle centuries, in Europe, and also in Africa, and also in Asia, religion was the most devastating and destructive stuff, which were just made like sent to suffer humanity. And it wasn't the problem of religion, but it was the problem of the people who practice those religions. Now that we are mentioning that we have to, our media should talk about religious pluralism, we mean by this that you as a Muslim should accept a Hindu as a neighbor, a Christian as a neighbor, people of other religions as a neighbor. It's not a problem. All of these people are like just like products of God. So you don't have the right to judge people by religion, by culture, by other issues. Your job is to go and follow the path which seems the right for you. What is right for you maybe not for right for others. You know, what is right for others maybe not right for you. So here we go and we face with the conflicts. If we do not have the tolerance, if we do not have the passion to accept each other, and as a human, generally we have the religion of humanity. So if we have the overall, the whole in religion and the common religion of humanity, we shouldn't give space to something which becomes just damaging for us, which has nothing to for us, but something which can be regretted later. So I mean that media should spread such things which motivate people to accept each other, to accept people from different religions, and gives us the patience not to judge others. Because if we are judging negatively, if we are doing negative judgment, it gives us the right to hunt them, to kill them, to fight against them. Because people, we are not sent to this world to have everyone around us the same as we are. Everyone has a different, even Muslim, inside the Muslims and inside the Christians, they're different. They're not the same to each other. For example, the belief system, the iman in the faith system is different of every human being. So once this is different and is clear to everyone, why shouldn't we accept others as they are? Because it's impossible to make everyone as we are. So once it's impossible, why do we fight for this similarity? Why do we fight for this unachievable goal and unachievable target? So I think we have to push medias through these issues. Like nowadays, for example, most of the scholars, Islamic scholars, we are watching the videos of them on YouTube and also on social media, Facebook. Some scholars from, I can't call them scholars because they don't deserve to be called scholars, but some mullahs, and they are actually very ignorant. I see their lectures on Facebook. They do not talk about religion. They do not talk about Islam. They just talk about themselves. They just talk about their bravery, their fake bravery, fake personalities, and they're talking about their abilities, their dreams. All these things are so just like nonsense. So I mean that we have to stop these people. We shouldn't motivate these people. The problem is most of the people are motivated negatively nowadays. So the main problem of social media is this, that people are negatively motivated. I see that these people have got lots of views, millions of views. If you are putting an academic video on YouTube, it do not get that much views like people who just share stupid things, who just share ignorance. So it's our responsibility to put an end, to put a full stop to these things, to encourage and motivate people to share positive things and gather positives and look after positive things. And that's how we can create a creative society. And a creative society is a society where everyone is accepted as they are.
I think I completely agree with you. I think we both completely agree with you. And you've raised up a very important perspective on this issue. So for me, it's very interesting that the Muslim world actually behaves in this way without religious pluralism now, because 1,000 years ago, when we had people like Ibn Sina, Al-Khwarizmi, or whoever, all these scientists from the golden age of Islam, as we call it, they also came out of madrasas. They also studied the Quran and fiqh, right? But that was completely different from what we have today. So I think one important thing for the students to think about over here would be that the system of Islamic education in madrasas has actually changed a lot especially after the British and what colonialism did to Muslim education, right? Because even in Pakistan, what they're called the Anglo-Oriental colleges, when the colleges set up by the British, they were all set up in madrasas, right? So then what happened to the old books? What happened to the old curriculum? What happened to the old teachers, right? And then they show up again. 50 years later, they reform Islam, and they come up again with new madrasas, and that's completely different from what we have. And then we have the Hindu Muslim issue, etc.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you said that we need to have a creative society is probably one of the biggest things I've learned in my own life from you right now. Because I think it's a very interesting concept. I don't understand it fully, but I think it's interesting because especially in our region, we have all these Sufi poets who are creative. They are very creative because they write poetry. They translate different texts from different languages into our language, and they're just creative people. So I would like to ask you and your students if there are any local poets or Sufis or storytellers who talk about tolerance, or folk tales, and if they could share that poetry or just their names with us.
Yeah, of course. Personally, I will share you such personalities like Rumis and also Shams of Tabriz were people, Sufis, who were always talking about tolerance, always talking about love. If you have read the book of the 40 rules of love, so in the 40 rules of love, Shams of Tabriz and Rumi complete these 40 rules by giving instructions, lovely and wonderful instructions about tolerance, about loving each other, about loving God, about the salaf, and all these things, and about Quran. So I think they are the great model of such things, what you mentioned and what you wanted.
Yeah, and Fidaullah, thank you for bringing up Rumi, because this is another issue in the modern world. When there are I don't know if you already know about this, but when we read Rumi in the original Farsi, in the original Persian, there are many references to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There are many references to the Quran and verses from the Quran, but in the English translations of Rumi remove these things. So I think it's very important for us to read them in our local language. But I would really like to
of course.
I would really like to hear from you.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that. And in translations, lots of different interpretations are added, and also the things of the writer's choice is also added. The writer's opinions are added. So this is very, very important to read everything purely, like in its own language.
So would your students like to share any stories they have about overcoming differences, or just meeting someone who was different, or having heard a story about differences and how they were overcome?
Yeah. So I'll ask my students.
I think they're probably enjoying them.
Hi, this is Nurullah Lanis, and I'm from Khost. First
Hello,
of all,
Nurullah.
we want to how different with each other. We should focus first of all on ourselves. When we focus on ourselves, when we make ourselves, and then we can what is called compare with ourselves with each other. And it is not the best way that everyone should compare someone to someone else. first, when we make ourselves, then we can confuse ourselves with each other. And the second thing that when we the person who want to how different with each other, they should have the ability of that thing that they want.
Okay, Nurullah, thank you. I'd like to. Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I would like to say that there is a lot of difference in the countries and societies, but in my personal opinion, difference is not something boring and that something that we should avoid always. But in some cases, it's important to not give differences to other people's, like in color, in respects. But if we want to remove these negative differences, we should start it from ourselves. Like if we want to start or do something, or we want to do something that we want, so we should start it from ourselves. That's my opinion on that.
Thank you. I think that's very important. I think your point makes a lot of sense and is very logical.
Anyone else? Yeah. Hamza, they means that being different is not a problem, and we have to convince ourselves that it's okay to be different, and it's okay to have different religions, have different cultures, and everything. It's not a problem at all. But the problem is not convincing ourselves. We are not being satisfied with the differences. Once we are satisfied that we are different, we listen to this word differently, then these problems and these difficulties would be removed. So they just mean like that, and their main point and focus was like that.
Okay, so I have a really fun question for your students, since since we're talking about religious pluralism.
Yeah.
If so, imagine you meet someone new, and so what are the things apart from religion that can help you connect with the other person?
Yeah. السؤال ده قرب معايا.
Okay. I think there is lots of things that are apart from religion. For example, culture. For example, like there is one Hindu and one, for example, Muslim. If they have the same culture, they are not differentiated. If, for example, one clear example is that sport, in nowadays sport, in sport there is no difference. Muslim can play, Hindu can play, Pakistani can play, Afghan can play, Christian can play, everyone can play. Like for example, in nowadays in the franchise teams, even from different countries, they play in a single team. So that's a very clear example away from religion. And there are lots of more things, like for example, love. A boy can love with girl if she is from another religion. So these are the things that are away from the religion.
Okay, and just I'd like to ask you to just give us some more details on what you mean by culture. So you said if there is a Muslim and there's a Hindu and they share the same culture, then they're not different. So what are the things under culture? What is culture?
Yeah. Like here in Afghanistan, majority of us are Muslims, and we have also Hindus. two different, it makes two different religion, but I mean by same culture like that, they have weddings like we do. They have they celebrate Eid like we do, and they do many things like we do. I cannot tell you all the things.
And do you do anything like they do, or is it just them?
Yeah, I think they share the same culture. If they, as I see the Hindu, they share our culture. Some of the person like 70 or 60%.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's good. So festivals, cultural festivals come under culture. Then I'm sure you all share the same language. So language is a very important part of culture as
Yeah.
well. I'm sure you all share most of the same food, and that's also a part of culture.
Music.
You all share the same music as well?
Yeah. Yeah, we are listening to the same music like they do. For example, we really like to listen to Indian songs like Ate Paslam or other American songs, Persian songs, even Punjabi songs from Pakistan. We listen to lots of Pakistani girl singers.
Okay, that's great. That's really good to know. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Hamza, these are the things.
Okay, great. Fidallah, thank you so much. I think we're running out of time now, but this was a really interesting session, especially all our conversation about national borders, religious pluralism, and the stories that your students brought up in the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. It was great. It was great, really.
So would anyone from the students, or would you yourself like to maybe summarize the session to conclude it?
Yeah, so I would tell you something that having such sessions and having such discussions are really crucial in such a time, because it can pave the road to an agreement which can be beneficial and crucial for everyone. So we're working to create and gather new ideas, and these things, these discussions between different people, between people of different areas, are really thought-provoking to be held, to pave the road for an agreement, for a word in aerial agreement. So I think it's so nice to meet you and to get your questions and also answer your questions. Even though it's a busy time in Khost here nowadays, because we are just harvesting the crops. So lots of my students and team members were busy doing and cutting these things, but they could at least read the stories, because we are always sharing the books, chapters to every student. So they are studying their own chapters, own gathered chapters, and then we have a meeting where we gather the ideas, what you get and what I get. So that's how we collect new ideas, and that's how we can spread new ideas.
That's very inspirational to hear that. And in conclusion, I would just like to come back to our conversation about media and perception and storytelling.
Yeah.
And this is something we did not have enough time to discuss, but we did discuss some of it. But I would really like to encourage all the students to continue to think about what kinds of stories they would like to see on the media. Which aren't usually there.
Yeah, of course. So I'm sure that they will think a lot about these things, and also they will, I'm going to gather their presentation, and I will share these presentations, the WhatsApp group, so everyone can have access to see their perceptions about what they're wanting to have on media, and what are the stories which are not spread on media, and they want, and they have the interest there.
Okay, thank you very much, Fidallah. Until next time. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you so much. It is very nice.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.